Hello everyone and welcome back. In today's video we're going to be breaking down why matched betting is by far the best side hustle to start in 2025. Forget the hype around dropshipping, Amazon FBA and reselling. I'm going to try and convince you that matched betting is what you should go for. So let's get straight into it. Now first of all, obviously I am going to be a little bit biased because I've been doing matched betting for a few years and it's the side hustle that I know the most about compared to any others. But I do have some experience. I've tried dropshipping and I have tried Amazon FBA. I tried Amazon FBA longer than I did for dropshipping, but we'll get onto that later on. Also, first, before I start this video, I want to define what a side hustle means. Now, to me, a side hustle isn't a business that's going to make you a millionaire. It's just something you can do on the side of whatever you're doing, whether you're a student or you have a full-time job. It's something you can do alongside that to add to your income. And I would say a side hustle is something that can take you from £0 to £10,000 total. So let's say you started with £0, then after doing the side hustle for a few years or however long, then you should be able to get up to £10,000. It's not something that's going to take you from 100 grand to £1 million. That's not what, in this case, match betting is, but that's what I'm using as a metric of side hustle, just to be clear. So I'm just going to compare to those three main ones in this video. So first of all, drop-shipping. We've all seen stuff about drop-shipping where you can get a product cheap from maybe China, AliExpress, Alibaba, put your logo on it, or potentially even don't even put your logo on it, and create your own store page and run ads or however you're going to push it organically, maybe on TikTok, and boom, you've blown up, you're a millionaire. We've all seen people like that if you're in the sort of side hustle space, and you've all seen people pushing those kind of courses. Now, as I said, I'm not an expert on dropshipping, but I have dabbled in it a little bit a few years ago, well before I started match betting. And here are my sort of thoughts on it. It's obviously, it has the potential to be insanely profitable if you hit that 1 in a million and you do get a really successful product in the perfect niche at the perfect time. And I can see why it would work for some people. But in my experience, it's extremely saturated. There's so many people competing for the same niche. And oftentimes you're going to be relying on paid traffic, so things like ads, which is a whole different field in itself. There's a whole different set of skills you need to learn. And the main thing is it's just a very hit or miss side hustle. So you could do it for 6 months and never hit a winning product and never make any money, or even lose money if you're paying on ads. So there is an element of risk or luck with dropshipping, which in the case of match betting you don't have. Match betting profits are completely linear, or more or less linear. So the more time you put in, the more money you're going to make. It might be slower at the beginning when you're learning, but once you're past that learning phase, then it is literally linear. The more time you put in, the more money you're going to make. If you've only got 15 minutes every evening, you can still make money, but it might only be a few £100s a month. But if you're putting in a few hours a day, then it's going to be a lot more, into the thousands of pounds a month. Also with match betting, you don't need any products. You don't need to find any products, no product sourcing or anything like that. There's no customers you have to deal with. With dropshipping, you're going to have to deal with customers. No shipping or anything to do with stuff like that. And all you really need is a laptop and sort of 30, 40, 50 pounds to get started with match betting. I'm realizing now this video is going to be very biased, but it's just my opinion, so don't take it for the gospel, but match betting is better. As I said at the beginning of the video, if I really needed to make £1 million in the next year, would I do match betting? No. Would I do something more like dropshipping? Yes. But the chances of making that £1 million in a year are so slim that the risk just isn't worth the reward. Because in all likelihood, you're going to make £0. I'm sure you can make money from dropshipping. You can hit a few winning products and make a little bit of money. But for me personally, it's just that risk reward. It's not really worth it. I prefer a side hustle that's more linear, so the more time you put in, you're guaranteed to make more money, sort of thing. That's what I prefer. Maybe some people are really inclined to risk and they want to risk it all and make 100 grand or make £0. Like, it's just up to you what you would rather do, I guess, if I'm trying to be fair. Okay, number 2, the second comparison is Amazon FBA. I do have a reasonable amount of experience with Amazon FBA. I'd say I did it for sort of 9 months to a year. And again, this was a few years ago, well before I started match betting. It's another thing that you see a lot about online, as you see a lot of courses and stuff teaching Amazon FBA. I actually paid for a course to be taught Amazon FBA, and I will say it is definitely a viable business model. It works. Same with dropshipping, I guess. It does work. There are people that make money from it. I'm not denying that. Same with dropshipping or Amazon FBA. But for me, there's a few problems. Amazon FBA is good because you don't have to do any of the ads yourself, because Amazon obviously provides them all on its own platform and it's all on its own service. What I was doing is sourcing products for previously existing listings, so just finding basically a wholesaler or a supplier that provide something cheaper, and then you can send it into Amazon and sell it for more. But there is problems with this. You've got to have a lot of money to buy the stock up front. You might only be making, a good product might be 30% return on investment, so you might be able to buy, I don't know, 20 of these products, let's say, and send them into Amazon. You then got to wait for them to sell to make 30% of your money, And then once you get the money back into your bank account, then you can buy more products. It's quite a long-winded process, and it helps if you have a lot more money to start with. So there's not really much point starting unless you have a few grand in the bank that you're willing to put into it, at least. But obviously the real profit is when you have tens of thousands of pounds going into it and you're just doing it on a repeat basis. And that leads me on to my second thing. The margins are very small with Amazon FBA a lot of the time anyway. You're competing against loads of other sellers, so there's always a competition on the price, and the price is always being worked down, especially if there's stuff like Amazon on the listing themselves. They're obviously going to be able to get a really good price and buy loads of stock in bulk, so that's going to cut their costs on the price of the item, so they can then sell it for less. And then you've also got loads of technical stuff of Amazon FBA, like your reviews. You want to have good reviews, and you've got to understand how the Amazon sort of system works. Not to mention, you have to deal with physical products, or at least I dealt with physical products when I did Amazon FBA. I had to get all the products, pack them, ship them, label them, all of that stuff, and it's very time consuming. And it's a lot of effort, you know, driving them to the post office or whatever. Whereas if you compare to match betting, there's no physical products at all. You're literally just working from your laptop. The startup cost is much lower. Literally, you could start with 20, 30 pounds. Ideally, you'd start with like, I'd say 100 pounds is a good starting point, but you can start with less, like 30 pounds. And again, it's just linear profits with match betting. With Amazon FBA, it can take weeks and weeks and months to find even one profitable product that is good enough to sell. There's so many different factors, like whether it's got chemicals in it, whether it's fragile, whether it's potentially dangerous product, and most of all, the price. If you can't get it for a good price, you can't sell the product. So it's really hard to find a product that meets all these criteria with Amazon FBA. But with match betting, you just do it, and it's just about the time you put in. Okay, side hustle number 3 is going to be reselling. Reselling is definitely the one I have the least experience with out of all of them. I haven't actually done proper reselling. I've got mates that have done it, and I know of people that do it. The extent of my reselling career has just been selling a few things on Vinted and Depop or whatever. So again, I'm not an expert. Don't get me wrong, there's money in reselling, of course, but for me it's similar to dropshipping and Amazon FBA, why match betting is better. With reselling, you've got to deal with physical products, or at least a lot of the time you can do reselling with like football tickets and sports games tickets or whatever. Then also you've got risk, so you might get a dodgy supplies, fake items or whatever. I guess there is that risk with match betting as well with certain bookmakers, but I've never really had many problems with bookmakers and not getting my money back, really. So I guess with match betting, you want to take advice or listen to a guide of someone who knows what they're doing and knows what the trusted bookies are, because we all see ads, or I see ads that are like non-GameStop slots and stuff like that, and obviously you want to stay far away from those sort of platforms. Also with reselling, you might spend hours and hours and days getting ready or looking for drops of clothes or tickets or whatever, or being able to source them without actually making any money. So you're putting in loads of effort and you're not making any money, which is another reason why I think match betting is better personally. So that was just a quick comparison to 3 side hustles. But what makes match betting so good in 2025? Firstly, it's extremely beginner friendly. You could make £500 to £800 plus from sign-up offers in your first month. I've got a video on how to do this if you are interested. That's guaranteed profit, by the way. It's not if something happens, if a team wins or whatever, it's guaranteed money. Then after that, with reload offers, you can be making upwards of £1,000 a month. There are a load of people in our group, Match Betting Empire, that do this in their first or second month, and then they can continue this on sort of indefinitely, making over £1,000 a month. There's loads of reload offers you can make money with on a consistent basis after the sign-up offers. You've got 2-ups, ARBs, price boosts, special offers like bet and get offers, casino offers, which can be huge just themselves. And I forgot to mention, it's completely legal and it's also completely tax-free, because your winnings are gambling earnings. Even though you're not actually gambling, you're not risking any money, because you're using these bookmakers and sites like that, all the winnings and all the profit is completely tax-free, which is a big one. There's also no need to go viral. There's no clients, there's no inventory, there's no running ads or anything like that. It's literally just maths and a strategy. Now, of course, there are some downsides of match betting, and I'll try and be fair. Is it perfect? No. First of all, you've got to learn how it actually works, and depending on the person, it can be more or less difficult to learn. I've seen some people that have picked it up really quickly, and there's also been some people that have taken ages, and some people that it's even taken so long they've just given up. But is that a reflection on match betting or just people not willing to put in enough effort? I don't know. It may be a bit of both. The second one is you need to try and keep your accounts healthy, and there are very specific ways you can try and do this, but it is difficult to try and maintain your account health. Obviously, bookmakers don't like people making guaranteed profit from their offers. They want to make all the money and for us just lose money, basically. So keeping accounts healthy can be difficult, and with that comes restrictions and bannings But as I said, you can try and avoid this. I made a video about ways you can avoid this. You can reduce the risk, definitely. And also you need to make sure you track everything properly of match betting. But I guess that's pretty similar for a lot of side hustles. The main downside for match betting for me is the scalability. You can scale using things like multi-accounting, which I've just made a video on, but there are sort of grey areas in terms of legality with multi-accounting and using other people's details like friends and family. So is it completely perfect to scale? Not really, to be honest. You can do it and people do it, but it doesn't come without its risks. Things like dropshipping and Amazon FBA I think probably are easier to scale once you get to that sort of initial checkpoint of being relatively successful. So if I had to explain it, I'd say match betting is definitely the best thing to get you from £0 to £10,000 in terms of a side hustle, and some of these other side hustles might be better for like dropshipping or Amazon FBA for getting from 10k to 100k, but obviously you've got to go through that whole learning curve of it. You can't really just chop and change side hustles. But when I hear the phrase side hustle, I think it is that 0 to 10k mark that you want to aim for. Don't get me wrong, you can make well over £10,000 from match betting. A lot of people do it. I know of a lot of people that have it as their full-time job and they make great money from it. But yeah, the scalability of it can be seen as a bit of a downside, I guess. So to wrap it up, if you're in the UK and you have a bit of spare time, I think you should do match betting. You don't need to be a social media genius or like an ads pioneer. You just need a bit of time and a bit of willingness to learn. If you are interested in learning, then we have a free Discord group you can get in. There's some basic guides and stuff, and we also have a premium group which is £20 a month if you are interested in making it like a proper side hustle and making good money from it. A lot of our members make over £1,000 in their first month. You can start with low capital and get consistent results from match betting, so I do really think it is the best side hustle to start with. And if you're interested in learning more, I've got loads of content on my channel that you can check out. So I hope I've managed to convince you, or at least turn your head slightly towards match betting. If not, let me know why. I'd like to know why you think other side hustles are better than match betting. I'm open to have a discussion. As I said, this is just my opinion. But yeah, thank you for watching this video and I'll see you in the next one.